How's it going, guys? It's Nathan from Nathan's DIY Garage, and today I'm going to show you what to look for in buying a BMW E53 with a 4.4 liter V8. Okay, so first of all, engine wise, you're going to look for a few things. Obviously, you're going to look underneath. You're going to see if everything's leaking underneath it. If it still has a skid plate on it, you're going to look down, take a flashlight, look down through the little cracks, see if there's oil down in there. A lot of you guys want to buy stuff like this but don't want to have to put a lot of money into it, so you need to do a little bit of let's say pre-inspection to make sure it's not going to be a problem child. The very first thing under the hood you're going to look for is you're going to look at all the hoses. Have the hoses been replaced according to the mileage? You know, what's the mileage on the hoses? So if the car has, most of these at this point have 150,000 miles on them. At 150K, everything is getting ready to need to be replaced if it already hasn't been. So you're going to look in here, first of all. You're going to see if the hoses are overly squishy. You're also going to look down here. You can see how this one is ever so slightly ballooned out at the very end. He's been on there for a little while. Now, be cautious also that some of these have a flared end to them. And you not only want to check the heater hoses at the valve, you also want to feel around the back here, and you're going to feel where they go into the back of the cross pipe in the engine, and just feel and see if they're all flared out. Next thing you're going to do is look at the water pump. The water pump, it's hard to see without the shields on it, but in person you can see here on the camera and the sun shining on it, it's hard as hell. Look at the water pump. When's the last time the water pump's been replaced? The water pump on these is not as easy as a 6-cylinder car. It's a little more entailed switching that out. The next thing is go back and make sure there's no coolant leaking on the rear of the engine. So in this case, you get on the passenger and driver's side, you slide under the car, and you can look up in there, see if anything's dripping. You know, if you need to take a mirror, if you have a inspection mirror on a stick, put it back there, take a look, see what's going on. If the owner will let you pull this piece out, this piece is already missing the top, that just pops off, but it has two big bolts right here. If the owner will let you pull that tray out, then you can just look at everything on the back. You can look and see if there's been any antifreeze leaking. Antifreeze leak on the rear of the intake can mean possibly one of the tubes going from the rear under the intake to the back of the water pump could be leaking, or it could be a valley pan gasket. That's not too hard of a fix, but if you're not mechanic minded, that might be a pretty difficult fix. If you take it to a shop, they're really going to gouge you on it. The biggest thing is, on these engines, we all know they have a problem with the timing chain guides. What state is the timing chain guides? If the owner doesn't know, if they haven't had it that long, you need to start it from cold start. When you start it from cold start, you need to listen. If it's making a growling, loud growling noise, or sets of ticking at cold start, they could be going. While you're cold starting it, if you don't know if it's that is where it's coming from, if it does have a noise, you can pull the oil cap off. Oil will spray out a little bit, spatter out, but you don't need to have it open just for a second, and you can tell if the noise is coming from inside the engine at the timing chains. Probably the best way to tell what the state of the timing chain guides are is when you go look at the car, bring an oil filter, bring the wrench with you. That was a 36 millimeter, I think, on these. It might only be 32. It says on there. No, don't, just torque. Pull the oil filter cap off. Look at the filter. Is there aluminum shaving stuck in the filter? Is there plastic and aluminum shavings? That'll give you the state of the timing chain guides. If there's nothing and it's clean, you're probably okay. The next thing I would do, ask them, say, when was the last time the transmission fluid was changed? The transmission fluid needs to be changed on these every 50,000 miles. It's not lifetime, no matter what BMW wants to tell you. BMW's in the business of selling $5,000 and $7,000 transmissions, not changing fluid. So ask them, say, hey, when's the last time it's been changed? If it hasn't been changed, if you're capable, on this one you go to the passenger side when it's running, and you take the little port from the side of the transmission and you check it. Your average owner is not going to probably let you go that far with it, but you can tell by the way it shifts when you're pulling hills. Is it shifting up and down? You know, when you're feathering the gas, barely touching it at 45, 50 miles an hour, is it shifting up and down? Is it shifting rough? Those are all telltale signs of a neglected transmission. So once you verify the transmission is good, the next thing is going to be electric fan. Electric fan, you start it up, go turn the AC on. Is the fan turning with the AC on? If you let it run long enough, is it coming on whenever the engine is heated up? You know, is it cycling off and on like it should? Electric fan is not hard to replace on these, but it can be pretty expensive. And the next thing is, if you do pull out this section back here, go ahead and inspect the hoses like we were just talking about. The CCV valve, which is on the back, this just pops off. That goes in the back of the intake manifold. It goes down in here about right there. It sits about right there. Sort of the light's all jacked up, shining through that stupid hood vent. Pop that off with a screwdriver. Check that. There's a spring in there. Be careful with the spring, not to lose it. You know, is that ripped? These aren't expensive. They could be hard to find. The next thing is your headlights are going to be nasty, more likely. This has been replaced. The headlight adjusters are probably going to be broken. These are HID, believe it or not, so we can't check them easily. But, well, the high beam you can. Grab a hold of the bulb, wiggle it up and down gently. You know, are the adjusters broke? Go ahead and wiggle it and just check it out and see. Okay, so the next thing, you know, take a look at the inside. Are the pixels breaking up like this? They probably are. That's real super common. Basically, look at the inside. Is everything super dirty? Has a person been taking care of the car? Those are things to look at. Turn the AC on. Does the AC work? You know, all kinds of stuff like that. And another big one too is check all the windows. Make sure the regulators work. Make sure that the sunroof works correctly. You know, make sure it's closing right. That could be another big expense. Another big one too is look at the fan. Does the fan spin easily? This one does not. If you go like that, you try to spin it quickly. If it is free wheels, you probably need a fan. Also, with the engine running, come to the front of the engine and smell for oil. Does it smell oily? Are the valve covers dripping? That's all easy stuff, cheap to buy. But if you're having to pay a shop to fix this car, then that's going to cost you a ton of money. All right, the next thing is, back inside here, is the ABS lights on? Is the traction control light on? You know, is the airbag light on? This one is, because the door airbag is unplugged. So that's on. You know, do you have a scanner to read the codes off a BMW? Those are things you have to consider. You have to budget another about 45 bucks for a scanner to do that correctly. The last of it here, we're going to check the front control arms. Are the front control arms getting bad? When you hit bumps, do you hear a rattling noise, a clunking noise? Is the steering wheel, does it click when you rock it back and forth? Take your tire, take your foot, push on the front tire. X5s don't roll back as bad as E46s and E39s do. If you have a jack with you, jack it up a little bit, wiggle it. Those are all things to check. If you're at a shop where it's on a lift, definitely check that out. And the biggest thing that you're going to want to take a look at is the front dry shaft. These have a problem with the front dry shaft after it gets, let's say 150, 170,000 miles, where the front dry shaft goes to the front diff. It has rubber guibo bushing. Where it goes and runs back, it runs into the transfer case, it has splines. The splines like to strip out. So look at the end of that dry shaft. Has it been cut and rewelded? That's good. If it has, it means it's been replaced, it's been fixed. If it has not, that's a massive, massive expense. Just for me to do that with no labor, just buying the parts, it's close to 200 bucks for that. And you have to have a welder. So a shop, they're going to want to pull the transfer case. They're going to want to, I don't even know what they're going to want to do. They'll probably cost you a couple grand. So that's another thing. And finally, the final biggest expense is, how's the door handles? Are the door handles all broken like this? Because that's going to cost you a lot of money. And this one actually pulled out again. You have the outer handle right here, and then you have the inner frame. Outer handles from eBay are $20-some, inner frames are $20-some. If you have a lot of them broke, it might cost you a couple $100 just in parts. A shop's going to charge you, if you can find a shop to do that, it's going to charge you a huge amount of money to do that. Also on the 4.4 liter, some of them have air rides, some of them don't in the rear. check the air ride. Is it sitting down in the back? Is it sitting lopsided? Is one side up, one side down? Is the compressor running? Does the compressor sound good? There's a whole bunch of different potential problems with the air ride on these. And lastly, I keep saying lastly, there's more and more stuff I'm thinking of as we're going. Check the brakes. You can just look in through the wheel. You don't have to take anything off. You can see the brake pad. Are the brakes about shot or they're not? You go to all four wheels and look at all four outer brake pads like that. That's pretty much it, guys. That's all for the what to look for in buying a E53 at the 4.4 liter. There's literally probably 100 other things. No matter what you do, if you buy one of these, you're going to have a bunch of small problems. It's just the kind of vehicle they are. If you're mechanic minded, you could easily control the situation and not get gouged. If you're having to go to the dealer or a shop for every little thing, buy something else. Just that simple. Buy something new with a warranty. You don't have to worry about it. That's it. Thanks for watching.